Thank you all so much for tuning in to WAOB News Now. I'm Jamie Worsley with breaking news for you all out of Smithville, Georgia. There has been an arrest made for Marcavius Butts in the double homicide that happened in Smithville back in back in March, excuse me. Now, what we did want to go ahead and show you is some of our extended coverage we've done on this story and tell you more about the suspect who is now facing charges in the death of Jessica Hatcher Thompson and her daughter Juliana Thompson. So let me go ahead and start by taking you over to our website, WAOB.com, again, where we have been covering this story extensively for months now. As I said, this happened back on March the 2nd, and we have been there since the day it happened. In fact, our news director went there himself to see the crime scene and to, see what we could glean from law enforcement at the time. So here's what we know so far about the arrest of Marcus Butts. He is 28 years old from Preston, Georgia, and he is facing a slew of charges in the deaths of Jessica and Juliana, who you see on your screen there. We're being told that Butts is currently being held at the Lee County Jail, and we did attempt to get an update from the Lee County Jail as far as an updated mugshot on him. However, they were on lunch when we called in, so we will be reaching back out to them after lunch is over. I also want to show you guys, I know you see a photo there on your screen, but I want to show you guys some other photos that friends and family of Jessica and Juliana sent in to us, because I think it really just shows you the relationship that the two had, a very close mother-daughter duo there from Smithville. And what we're learning so far about the suspect is that he has been arrested again in connection to their double homicide. He was identified as a suspect in the case and was arrested on Saturday, March the 9th, on some unrelated charges. And that was with the assistance of the Stewart County Sheriff's Office, Lumpkin Police, and the Sumter County Sheriff's Office, as well as the Georgia Department of Corrections. So we have submitted an open records request with the GBI and some of those local law enforcement offices to learn more about what charges he was arrested on that were unrelated to the homicide charges, which then brought him into police custody, where he was then charged after they obtained arrest warrants in this particular homicide case. Now, what I can tell you about Marcus Butts is that I looked into his criminal history and found some things that were quite interesting as far as what we were able to determine about his criminal history here in South Georgia. So I'm going to come back to myself on screen here just to kind of give you guys all an idea about Marcus Butts' previous criminal history. So according to the Georgia Department of Corrections, Butts has previous charges and has been previously incarcerated. So according to the GDC, he was charged and served time on an aggravated assault charge. He was institutionalized at Jenkins Correctional Facility, and he was released in July of 2022. So he served from March until July of 2022. So a couple months there he was in prison. He was sentenced overall to 10 years, but again, he only served he served from March of 2021 until July of 2022, and then was released and was set to serve the rest of his 10-year sentence on probation. Now, obviously, reoffending with these type of serious charges would be a violation of probation, and so we could see more charges come for that as well. But I do want to take you guys over now to look at his current charges in relation to this case. So in the case, in the murders of Jessica and Juliana Thompson, Butts is facing charges of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, home invasion, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and possession of a firearm committed during a felony. So as I said earlier, he was a previously convicted felon for that aggravated assault charge, and we're told that that incident, according to the Georgia Department of Corrections, happened in July of 2019. So that happened in July 2019. He started serving time for that charge in March of 2021 and was released in July of 2022 before he would be rearrested on unrelated charges, according to the GBI, to the Smithville double homicide, and then they were able to secure the warrants while he was in custody on those unrelated charges, and eventually, like I said, would be transported to the Lee County Jail in relation to the double homicide out of Smithville. So also I want to show you guys a look back at the crime scene and tell you a little bit about the crime that happened in Smithville and about the deaths of Juliana and Jessica. So let me get that video going for you all here. So this is what WAOB found when we went out to the scene in Smithville. And as I said, we were actually there the night that the murders of Jessica and Juliana were called in. And so we later found out that their deaths were being investigated as a double homicide. Until that point, we only knew a death investigation was underway, but their deaths were ruled homicide. And so that is when we really started to dive into this case and start looking into what might have happened, because police on the scene and the GBI told us in the early morning hours after Jessica and Juliana were found deceased that they did suspect foul play in this case. Now, anybody that's been through Smithville knows it's a very quiet, small town. As you can see, there's some kind of basic neighborhood roads, not anything, you know, where you would expect something like this to happen, a double homicide of a mother and daughter duo. It left a lot of people really shocked in the community, and we spoke to a lot of them, a lot of neighbors nearby after this crime scene, and they were just really shocked because they said the mother and daughter duo were just really well known in the community, and that they couldn't imagine anyone that would, you know, do something like this to the two of them. What is unclear right now, or what has not been confirmed to us by law enforcement, is the relationship between Marcus Butts and Jessica and Juliana. There has been speculation on social media, but we are working to confirm that ourselves now. As I also mentioned, we are working to get a more recent mugshot of Butts, because the one that I showed you all previously was from his arrest in 2019 regarding that aggravated assault case. The other thing that we're still working to get right now is an update on what those unrelated charges were that Marcus Butts was brought into police custody for before he was charged in the double homicide. We do know that he was a previously convicted felon, so it could have been charges related to that. It could have been charges related to probation violations. So we are waiting for an open records request to be fulfilled by the GBI when it comes to what he had been originally brought in for before warrants were secured to charge him in Jessica and Juliana's deaths. So I'm going to take you guys over one more time. I'm going to read the charges again for Marcus Butts in case we have anybody that is jumping on for the first time, joining us live here for this digital update. So 28-year-old Marcus Butts from Preston has been charged in connection to the double homicide and the deaths of Jessica and Juliana Thompson. He's facing charges of malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, home invasion, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, and possession of a firearm committed during a felony. So those are the charges that we have been provided by the Georgia Department, or the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, and that is a mugshot from the Georgia Department of Corrections from his previous charge of aggravated assault that happened in 2019. So we here at WAOB will still be working for you to get updates in this case, so make sure you stick with us on air and online as we continue to dig into the background of Butts. And again, our thoughts and prayers are with the Thompson family at this time. Thanks so much for tuning in to this edition of WAOB News Now. I'm Jamie Worsley, and we'll see you guys here on the air for the 4 o'clock show in a bit.